think that's the perfect way that I want to start off this video, by giving a small round of applause to what is now one of my favorite anime movies in a long time. Normally, when I love something, I enjoy it, I want to talk about it, whether if it's writing down my thoughts on paper or just coming on here and just talking about it face to face, mano to mano, however you want to go about it. But yeah, you can kind of tell my brain cells are kind of still fried from the chapter today. I want to sit down and talk about my thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen 0 the movie, or Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0, however you guys want to go about it. But the GOAT that's right here, man. This film was everything that I could have ever hoped for. Whenever this was announced, going back to a year ago, we had gotten the English release finally for this, and then a little bit after that, the movie was announced. So when it was announced, I was like excited, I was hyped. If you guys have seen the video, I talked about why it's important to go and check out that movie before the events of season 2, and even more now after watching it. Like, I can't stress it enough. It is very important to go watch it. But let's dive into the actual movie itself and talk about what I got to see in it that made it stand out so well, and possibly being one of the best stuff that MAPPA has put out in a long time. In terms of the adaptation itself, I do feel that it was pretty much damn near perfect. And I'm not saying, just to be biased and like, oh, it's always perfect, it's Kaisen. In terms of, trying to see like the needle in the haystack kind of thing, and seems like, what is out of place, what was different whatsoever. There may have been like 1 or 2 changes that were a little bit different to how it was in the manga, maybe whether it's omitted, or whether they decided to add something else to it to make it stand out a little bit differently. Regardless of that, I felt that in terms of page for page, panel for panel, in terms of what we got to see animated, I felt they did a fantastic job with the adaptation for it. For those 4 chapters to go down a runtime, I think it was an hour and 40 something minutes. Because I was a little bit nervous at the time when they did announce how long it was going to be. And I realized, with 4 chapters for this thing, it's like, how much are you able to like cover without it making you feel like there's something missing there, or are they have to prolong something and scenes will get stretched out? But it didn't really feel that way whatsoever. And I was glad with the way that the pacing kind of went. In terms of the first half of the film being the introductory phase of Okoto's time getting into Jujutsu High, his relationships with the likes of Maki, with Inumaki, Panda, and of course with Gojo. Just the way that was all handled, I felt was very well done. And in terms of the adaptation itself, definitely delivered on every aspect of it. In terms of like the presentation, man, I mean, like the way the film starts off with like this horror-esque beginning. Obviously, we know Kaisen can tap into like the very dark and scary elements at times. Compared to how the first chapter starts off with to what the movie starts off with, when you're seeing like Yuta basically being, bullied by these students and stuff from his time at high school and everything. And you get to see afterwards where Rika comes into the picture, basically takes down one of the kids and eventually takes the other ones out. And then you have like Yuta just sitting there in the corner saying like, "Gomen nasai, gomen nasai." And then just the eerie coverage of like the locker and the blood just streaming down to his feet as she's just saying like, "Yo, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." It's just like, it really just hits you home. Like right now, this kid has been going through some stuff in terms of being bullied and all that, but he has some monsters in him. And of course, Rika's presentation in terms of the film, in terms of how, she was showcased, it was like, wow. Like when Yuta like had stepped into the classroom the first time, meeting up with like the rest of his classmates and stuff at Jujutsu High, and I love how that scene was done, where he just walks in, first foot in, and it's just like the cursed energy was throughout the room. Like they felt the presence of Rika just completely consume them. And I love how you see afterwards he's walking, he's all calm and stuff, and then Rika just comes down, it's just like, Malice, like, what are you looking at and stuff? And just like, and it just started up getting all angry and all that. It's just like, man, like, it was just really cool just seeing like how all that was being presented in terms of, Rika is a monstrosity, it's something that's very scary. And anybody that walks into a room and sees like that aura pour in, it's just like, dude, it was just really crazy. One of the things I will say about the film that stood out to me a lot was the voice acting performances. And in particular, I have to give my flowers and a huge shout out to Megumi Ogata, the voice actor for Yuta Okoto. I mean, everybody performed really well, going from Gojo's to Geto's, we'll get into a little bit. But I want to say what Megumi Ogata has done in the role as Yuta Okoto was just outstanding. Like, I've loved their work as Shinji Ikari in Neon Genesis Evangelion to the Rebuild films and the Evangelion, whatever it may be. And I always felt this way when it comes down to like, foreign actors or voice actors, that kind of stuff, where you really get to feel the passion of these characters and their personalities really come to light from their side of the pond compared to what we have here in North America. At times I feel like, yeah, they try to tap into the personalities, but it never really gets there. In the case of Ogata, I don't know how she does it, but the way she was able to just get the personality down for Okotsu to a T in terms of, you know, how he feels all nervous and scared and stuff to when he starts to get violent after and start to tap into, you know, the craziness inside of him. I just really love that range that was in there from Ogata, and the fact that she did a fantastic job from, again, the serious moments to the funny moments afterwards, just the range and balance that was in there. She was incredible. Like, the whole cast in general did a phenomenal job, but this is one of those like stand-up performances that make you know the fact that her name in the anime industry is synonymous, of course, with Shinji Ikari. In terms of, like, you know, a debut appearance as a character and getting to see this voice actress come in there and be able to lay down their aura, their everything when they're taking care of this character and really showing him, you know, come to life. Like, there's not many out there in the business that do it that well as Megumi Ogata, so I just want to give my shout out and flowers to her because, man, she was just incredible. Keep doing what you're doing, because this was one of those performances that made me go, yo, she's the GOAT. I also really like the extra bits that were added into the film in terms of like the extras. So if you guys have read the manga for this, there's like extra pages that sometimes come with it in terms of like information, getting to understand like little things that maybe not been in the chapters, but at least as almost like an info box kind of say to like just give you a little bit more to what's happening in these events of the stories that we only going to get to see so much of in the manga. For example, the stuff that we got in the film in regards to how Rika and Yuta got to meet up back in the hospital and stuff, because of course Yuta was, you know, really sick as a kid. I think he had like ammonia issues and stuff from what was said in the volumes, and then going to see afterwards of Rika where she was hospitalized as well. If you know the stuff that happens in that info box is kind of crazy. I did think that we were going to get some of it, we didn't, but the fact that they kept it very subtle as, you know, why they were in the hospital and everything, but just in general, how they got connected with one another, why she means so much to him, and then how it really just kind of amplified their bond together. Because obviously that was the big thing of the film. It was really just showcasing, you know, how much Rika meant to Yuta and why that he wants to become a better person, because after everything that happened to him, he feels like he shouldn't put people at risk and stuff because of the curse that lives within him, but knows that he cannot live like that. He's been called out multiple times because of that, especially from Maki, always saying like, oh, you're playing the victim all the time, but like you can't be doing that. You want to be able to keep on going, you need to step up in your own regards. So I do like the fact that how they really, you know, showcase this relationship between the two of them with Rika and Yuta, and also trying to be able to level up the fact that, yeah, he went through some very dark times and stuff with her, but don't use her as a crutch for why you can't keep going in life. So those little things that they did with the extra bits, and then really fleshing out that relationship throughout the film, I thought it was really, really good. Shout out to Yuta and shout out, of course, to Rika. I also want to say that the transition in the story from where we get the introductory phase of things with, you know, how Yuta's being taken care of in his time with Jujutsu High, you know, how he gets to interact with the likes of Maki, to Inumaki, to going afterwards to where Geto is brought into the story and he's now like, you know, our antagonist that we have to deal with, that we have to take care of and all that. I felt like the transition was very smooth and very somber, because obviously throughout the film you get to kind of see how in little pieces over time Geto's kind of being brought in. You know, he goes and gets the name card and stuff, to him pretty much bringing the curse in to summon and cause a problem with Inumaki and Yuta, to then him being introduced afterwards as the antagonist. He's the guy that was basically causing those problems, and now he's what we have to deal with in the second half of the film. And I have to say, man, because I don't talk about it enough, I don't discuss it enough, Geto Suguru arguably is one of my favorite characters in this whole story. I know it's very easy to talk about the likes of Yuji, Yuta, Megumi, Gojo, Nobara. It's very easy for me to do that, but I have to say that the way Geto was presented in this film, oh my god, man, like, that is my guy. Like, especially the little things that you get to see. Like, I didn't even notice this the first time when I was reading, but when he has that, like, arm rest that's, or, like, literally, he has one arm rest, and my guy's just chilling like this. And then, like, the whole things with, like, the monkeys and stuff, and he's like, I don't want the monkey stench around me and stuff. It's just like, okay, man sick in the head. We have to take that into consideration, but that's my sicko, and we have to respect it. I really did love the fact that his personality really shined here, because obviously for people who only watched the first season of the anime, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys feel like there isn't enough there to really build a connection towards him. He was just kind of there in the background stuff. So getting to see him actually in this film and really just showcase why the guy is a menace and stuff, but the reasoning behind the menace itself when you get to see that towards the end. And of course, for events later on down the line that we'll get into in due time. Just in terms of the performance, man, like Geto was just in his bag the whole time. From him just joking around and, you know, fooling around and stuff with him and Manami and stuff with the photos and everything and all that, to just getting like downright serious of his attacks on Okotsu, to Maki, Inumaki, and Panda, to the heart-to-heart conversation afterwards with Gojo. And I'm going to say this right now. There were many times when I was watching this movie where I was really starting to get emotional, and one of those things that really was getting to me, how much I really connect with these characters because of what happens in the second phase, basically, you know, in season 2. I was like, man, like, and I wasn't expecting certain scenes to actually be animated too. That's gonna be for later down the line. Like, if you know, you know. But it's like, the Getsuo Gojo stuff, I was just like, dude, there is no way half of this stuff is even being, like, put in here. Especially certain scene that is just, like, the peak of one of the arcs that's gonna be happening in the next season. It's just like, man. When I say Mappa delivered with this film, they delivered in more ways than one. Like, even the stuff that we got to see also with Nanami, with the Black Flash, because remember they talked about how he did like 4 consecutive times, and we actually get to see it in the film go down. It's just like, bruh, like my man came in, took the tie off and everything. He's like, yo, it's time for me to clock in. Like, I might have to work overtime right now. And my guy was just going in. I just loved all that stuff. Even like the side cast too, and the way that like everybody kind of gets their own shine in there, from the likes of Mei Mei to Kusakabe. Like, my guy Ino was going in. Like, my man pulled up with the 2 guys, said, let's go. Started squaring up on all the cursed spirits. Like, I just really loved how even like the Kyoto students too got in there as well. You know, obviously the only one not being there is one of the Nita siblings, which I won't say too much on because that's for later on. But basically the ones that we got to interact with during the festival and all that, I was like, man, like they were going in, from like Miwa to Mekumaru to Kamo to Momo. And then I'll say this here and now, there have been quite a few moments when I was in my theater, we're watching the movie, and then, you know, people are going crazy. Of course, Gojo appears, Geto appears, Nanami. I have never heard a reaction as loud as I did when Todo appeared. Like, oh my god. Like, I was like, yo, that's my goat. Like, that's the goat right there, man. Like, yo, this man pulled up and he's like, listen, it's gonna be 8 soon. Takada-chan show's gonna be on. I ain't got time to be wasting here. Like, every time the man spoke, or he just did anything, or he just moved a millimeter, people were just going in for him. So I was really happy the fact that they had actually seen more of the series, or they actually really connected with the stuff that happened in season 1. So I was like, man, just getting to see like the love that was there for Todo, it was beautiful, man. The other things too as well, like stuff like the musical score, I felt was like really good too. And if there's like one track in particular that I felt was like, this is like the me track. Like, everyone has like a song that they listen to and it's like, yo, that's my song, or that's my OST. The Real You that starts playing during Okotsu versus Geto at the end of the film. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Like, I was like, look, you guys should know this by now when it comes to my intro and stuff for the channel. Like, every time I start a video up, there's like, you know, the guitar riff stuff that's going on and everything. Anything that has like J-rock, rock elements, guitar, whatever it may be, is always go to me. So when I hear that guitar riff that was going in The Real You, man, it just took everything to the next level. So that was probably easily one of my favorites OSTs and the whole thing that was going on. But the musical score in general, like for every scene, that just fit perfectly into place with everything. And it didn't feel like there was a track that felt, you know, unnecessary or just didn't fit what was going on. It just felt like they all basically fit into each little part of what was going on from every scene, and it felt like it actually added more to what the moments were going on. So yeah, brilliant musical score, and I'm gonna be listening to that soundtrack quite often over on Spotify, so shout out to Mappa for that. Even like bits of like the comedy too, I thought was really good, because I don't talk about this enough, but Gege, I feel like in terms of his comedy, he really knows how to make, you know, things like hilarious when like it doesn't have to be like, it's so subtle too, where it's like sometimes he does try and sometimes he doesn't try after, where like you get to see like when at the end of the film when Gojo pulls up without like, you know, the bandages and everything, and it's like this you know, this handsome looking guy and stuff, but then they're looking like, who the hell are you? Like, it's like, I'm Satoru Senpai and stuff. It's just like, and then you have him doing like all the funny bits and stuff. He's like, oh, you're a descendant and everything to Michizane Sugawara. It's just like, yo, those little things like that. The Toto stuff I was bringing up earlier. The Geto, talking about like the monkeys and stuff, the photobomb things, whatever. It's like, they were doing so much in that film. Like, I was switching up from like crying to laughing to like smiling. It's just one of those things where I feel like this film was really tapping into different emotions and stuff. And obviously it got into really more emotional stuff as time goes on by, you know, dealing with the things that were going on with Yuta and, you know, just how he was feeling, you know, basically being someone that started off, you know, with these burdens and curses and everything to someone who's now able to like rely on to people and stuff. And you, of course, if you read the manga, you know how much that stuff now means even further. But it's like just getting to see all of those things kind of come to life. I thought it was just incredible. You know, it's tough to say, like, you know, my highlights of the film because there was a lot of stuff that I really loved. But I think the ones that really stood out for me was the Gojo versus Miguel, Okotu versus Geto, the actual end of the film and stuff. Like, there's so many things that went down. Like, I gotta say, Gojo versus Miguel, oh my god. Like, I cannot wait for the 4K version of what Gojo was doing to Miguel in that fight because... oh, it was very disrespectful to Miguel. He was beaten black and blue. Like, we're talking like haymakers to flicker jabs to everything possible you can imagine. And it was just like, Miguel wishes like he was back in Africa. Let's be honest with ourselves right now. He did not want to be there with his robe getting beat within an inch of his life at the hands of Gojo Satoru. Like, my guy was talking about, you're in the way, like all these curses that were trying to like get in the way of the fight, and he's just like bam, being gone. And it's like, bro, you can't. And even just the Okotu Geto fight itself, you know, I felt like, you know, in terms of the cinematography, the animation and stuff was like really well done. Again, the real you playing during all of that just really took off. And then like, you know, the whole stuff of, you know, it's pure love, the kiss between Okotu and Rika, and then just that whole end sequence afterwards. Like, I would say another favorite part of the film too was the whole Geto and Gojo moment, you know, when they're talking to each other. It's like, you know, trust is something I didn't think I still had, and even though I hate these monkeys of the world, I didn't really harbor any kind of hatred towards those of Jujutsu High. And again, when I feel like whenever season 2 happens, you'll have a better understanding of what kind of person Geto really is. But for what it does there, and especially for manga readers who know, you know, if you know, you know, it's like, it really hits home just like how much I really adore those two and what their bond is like. And for those of you who've only seen season 1 in the movie, man, you have a lot to see coming up whenever season 2 happens. The end of the film itself, I thought was also really well done. Again, the pacing I felt was always on top, you know, from the beginning to finish. It didn't feel like anything was dragging, or it felt like, you know, there were shortcomings and all that. Every scene felt like they were fitted perfectly, but the way how things ended, where you see like the snow coming in, panel for panel, just the shots that were being done were just so good. And then we get the post-credits scene. If you're a manga reader, you know, but when you see Gojo pull up in Africa and you see Miguel and Yuta are just hanging out and stuff, having some food together, and he's like, what are you doing here? Like, I'm going to say it again. If you're a manga reader, you know. But for those of you who don't know, let's just say season 2, when it happens, that's basically what it alludes to. I'm not going to say anything more, but that's what it alludes to. I know this feels like more like rambling. There's no like coherence, like, you know, step by step of how I wanted to talk about it. But I just wanted to really get my thoughts out there in terms of what my enjoyment was of this movie. Like, again, as I say all the time, I am a massive fan of Jujutsu Kaisen. It's a series that means everything to me. I will love talking about it week in and week out, whether it's on a video, whether if it's in a tweet, whether if it's in Discord, whatever it may be. You know, whenever I see greatness coming out from Akutami Gege, I want to talk about it. And how much this film really resonated with me as someone who has read this when it was under like fan translations, when the last 2 pages of the last chapter were still missing. And we're talking about like, you know, the Yuta like going off to see his friends and all that. That's how knee deep I have been with this series. And to finally see this in cinema form just be so good is all I could ever ask for, man. So yeah, this easily to me was like a 10 out of 10. I know I sound like I have a lot of biasness when I talk about, you know, it being like a 10 out of 10 and stuff. And I know for some people they may not feel that way, but as someone, again, who really loves the series and how I looked at this adaptation, the way that it was presented and all that, I do feel like it really does earned the right to being like one of my favorite anime movies ever. And when I resonate with a series a lot and I see the love and care that Mappa has put into this series, you know, we see what it did in season 1, and then you see, of course, what it's doing now in the movie. It has my hopes going very high up. Regardless of whatever happens after with the director of Jujutsu Kaisen, because there's like rumors going around saying that he's going to be making his own new studio and all that. To me, it doesn't matter, because as long as that they still have the same people there, or people that are working on it that have a love and admiration for this series, I have no worries whatsoever what's about to happen. So I'm excited regardless of the future for Jujutsu Kaisen, but just seeing what we got in this movie and the way that Zero really hyped itself up and being the movie that it is, and it really nailed in how much Jujutsu Kaisen means to me. It's like, dude, delivered. It delivered. I asked for, like, you know, just gets a couple points up, and it dropped a triple-double. That's what it basically did. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below regarding Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0. Again, this is not like a simple, like, you know, review or whatever it may be. This is literally my incoherent thoughts being thrown out there and everything. Like, my brain cells, I'm still trying to intact them in some capacity because of the chapter and now the movie. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below regarding the movie itself. If you guys went to go and watch it, how did you feel about it? Did you watch it subbed or dubbed? Is another thing too. I watched it subbed, but I may go watch it dubbed afterwards myself, second time around before it wraps up in theaters. But let me know what you think of the film itself. Did you feel like it was a very good adaptation of the source material? Were there parts in it that you may feel a little bit different to how you felt when you read it in the manga, or maybe improved in the anime? Let me know down in the comments. Your rating and all that, your favorite moments in the movie, and of course, are you excited for the events of Season 2 to come whenever that happens next year? I want to know all of that down in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoy, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here. If you want to be part of the weekly experience when it comes to my coverage of Jujutsu Kaisen week in, week out, subscribe if you haven't already, click on the bell to endorse it the day everything goes on the channel. With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. So, Commodore last signing off. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care. Going crazy, yeah, we going crazy. I'm with the